is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Unspoiled, covering Stranger Things 2, episodes 7, 8, and 9. In these episodes, I thought from the start of this season that these episodes would be the most interesting, but for me, were some of the least interesting. Let's find out what Maggie thinks. Welcome to Unspoiled.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that on episode 7, which is a big letdown. And then 8 and 9, there was a lot of good stuff in 8 and 9, but I didn't feel a lot of suspense, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
I figured there at least one person would die, but most everybody would be fine.
Yes, agreed.
And so, they're not going to kill Will. No. So, and they're not going to kill Winona. So that whole part was not interesting to me at all. The whole part with Will out in the, I don't know, wherever they had him, where they were heating him up.
Shed.
In the shed. Yeah. Their lovely shed. But yeah, I just liked all the Steve stuff. So the more Steve, the better. And there was good Steve stuff here. There was good stuff in it.
It definitely feels like we were in a weird timeline, though, for us to be saying that.
We're already in the darkest timeline. I think that's been established in the course of the last year.
Agreed.
So let's just go with it. You know, if Steve being the good guy is what's going to make me enjoy the show in this weird bananas timeline that we currently exist in, I'll take it. I'll take all the Steve Harrington being cute with small children as I can get.
Yeah, I have to agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
He is it's just such an unexpected thing. I really enjoy that they surprised me in such a way, because I'm always a fan of things not being hugely predictable. And I say that, but then the Bob thing I found pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Pour one out for Bob.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If anybody was going to die, it was going to be Bob.
Most definitely.
So I was definitely surprised by it, just the way that the scene had been going. I was like, okay, I think they actually did it, until they're both standing there staring at each other. Like, oh, look,
thank God
you made
it.
Okay. I'm like, why the fuck are you just standing there? What? Like, you're still both in the building with the crazy dogs. You got away from one.
Yep.
What are you doing? Bob.
Yeah, when they introduced him early on, and they were like, hey, he knows how to do science-y computer stuff. I was like, fuck, he's going to be the only one who knows how to do something later, and they're going to send him, and he's going to die as a hero for doing the thing. And then, sure enough, because you don't include a character with a very specific skill set that you have really not introduced with anyone else.
Yeah.
And then...
Right. He only existed as a foil to her, too, so he had no relationships with anybody else. Exactly. So it would be... So you, obviously, like I said, they're not going to kill off Will. So you have to have something emotionally motivating Winona. And there goes Bob. I am friends with enough nerds that I saw a lot of people complaining about the fact that that lab was running on BASIC. That was the only computer language that the writers knew. And everybody I'm friends with who's into that stuff was like, well, it clearly would have been written in COBOL. Well, it's BASIC. And I'm like, oh, you guys are the worst. I had my best friend in high school knew COBOL and Fortran, which were two of the major programming networks that were going to be affected by the Y2K virus, because they were super old, and enough infrastructure in banks and things still ran on them. And so I knew enough about those languages that when I saw that conversation happening, I was like, oh my God, you guys.
Get over it.
Like, yes, you're almost certainly correct. Let Bob just type in just a couple of really basic commands and we'll go with that.
Basic, super basic.
Super basic. But yeah, my friends are nerdy computer programmers.
That makes me think of when I recorded with the guys from Overdue. And they were talking about this line in the, what was it, Bag of Bones book, where he was describing how this like computer mogul had created his empire, and describes a couple of programming languages. And Craig was reading the quote and stops and asks Andrew, "So are those real things?" And Andrew's like, "Oh yeah, they're real things." And I just chimed in with, "Yeah, I don't buy it." Just like all of that sounds completely made up. Nope, I don't buy it.
Well, everybody's got to be a comic book guy about something or other. God knows I do it all the time. So I have enough friends to be like, well, clearly it's the worst episode ever because it's being basic. Okay, guys.
Well, and then there are times where you're like, okay, that's not correct, but I see why they did it because of, for the sake of expediting the explanation for the plot, whatever. And then there are times where they do something wrong and you're like, there was really no reason they couldn't have gotten that right. There's no, that wasn't shorthand for anything. That wasn't better. I'll think that way about food stuff sometimes. They'll be like, oh, well, she's making such and such. And the way that they phrase it, I'm like, you just said the same thing twice in different words. And then that isn't actually anything. Apparently people don't know what braised is. So that's a real safe one to use if you just want to be like, I'm going to say something that sounds fancy. Just say braised. Yes. Anyway, so let's start at the beginning. Shall we?
Yeah, with this episode that I was like, meh.
Yeah, the Lost Sister.
Yeah, I think most people I've seen talking about it were not huge fans of this episode. So
yeah, it's a real shame because the season opening with the Lost Sister and her band of merry men and women, men and merry people.
Merry people.
Is really exciting. And you're like, oh shit, what are they up to? What's going on? And then you just find out oh, we're going to have a storyline about forgiveness. And is this vengeance too vengeful? Never seen that before. Yeah,
and what's really family? What does family and home really mean to you? And I was like, okay. And also just all the characters were such caricatures. They were not real characters. All of those people. I like, the punk guy with the mohawk and, Holly Hobby and the giant getaway driver. I'm like, none of you are anything other than just I've seen D&D you say characters. Yeah, exactly. They were a bunch of NPCs standing around, just not helpful at all. And yeah, they bugged me, and I was like, I am not invested in any of these people, and I don't really fully trust her sister.
Yeah,
and so I don't want her to be there was no moment in that entire episode where I wanted her to even consider staying with this girl. Not even a thought that would be a thing that she should do.
Yeah. And
it's almost like it also existed for her to get that little piece of advice of your power will be more powerful if you think of something that makes you angry, which it pays off in that last battle or whatever. But I think she kind of would have figured that out. You don't need a voiceover of this girl being tap into your anger. I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, the Emperor told us you can do that. This is some Jedi shit.
Yeah, I really thought, because there's a moment that's sweet where they're talking together and she says, I felt like a piece of me was missing and now it's not.
Right.
If that makes sense. And Eleven's like, yes, it does. And they have a really sweet connection. And that I was here for. And then it felt like they just totally threw that out the window.
They literally threw that out the window immediately. The next scene was her going downstairs and being like, yep, okay, we're going to use her to find this guy and we're going to murder him. So let's take her on an adventure. And I was like, wait, all of a sudden it just seems like she's a tool to you.
Yeah, because I really believed her in that moment, and I think we're meant to. I think they think they're telling us the truth of her character in that scene, but then she's just this enormous opportunist.
Yeah. Yeah, it
doesn't seem to care.
Yeah, I think, you're supposed to take away from it, yes, this is an emotional connection, and this is part of her is saying this is how we're going to make her feel emotionally connected, is we're going to take her on this thing and make her feel good by taking out vengeance, because to Kali, that's what feels good, is taking out vengeance on these people. And she's like, this is what I'm going to do for my sisters. Take her out to kill people. Whee! But at the same time, it's using her to further their existing means. And she does it in such a kind of callous way when she's talking about it to her friends that it just loses all the emotion of the scene before. And so for a moment I was like, were we just not supposed to believe her at all? And then as the episode goes on, it becomes clear, at least to me, that no, she does mean the stuff that she's saying when she's talking about the emotional aspects of things, but it's not enough. That's not all it is.
Yeah, I feel like, because as you said, it feels like part of her purpose was to tell Eleven how to tap into her power more. But I feel like they didn't give this enough time to breathe. As you put it, they go right from her talking about how much she cares and how happy she is to see her to then trying to murder a guy, which is like an enormous jump to take when you don't know that this girl is down for this. Like, if she had gotten to know her and talked to her and found out that she had hurt people and started to be like, all right, maybe she is capable of this, and kind of fed her maybe some propaganda over some time so that you think like, oh, she really does care about her. And then it slowly revealed that like, oh, but she is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think this would have been much more effective also getting to know the people that she's with.
Yeah, but they just didn't have the time scale available to do this. They had to get her to Illinois and back in a certain amount of time because Will is in the hospital. There's only so much time between Halloween and which is the last time we saw her, right? It was the day after Halloween. And what's going on back with Will in the hospital and all the demo dogs. There was only so much time to do it. They could literally only have her there for one day. And that's not long enough for there to be any character development outside of this weird reverse Ali Sheedy makeover scene that was just ridiculous. I'm like, all right, we're going to go kill someone. You know what we should do first? Eye makeup and hair gel.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever, you guys.
I'm trying to think because they introduced them in the beginning of the season. I really liked that opening scene. They couldn't end the season with 11 not going there at all if they were going to do that opening scene, which I don't want to lose. So if we're thinking that way, we want to keep it. How do they have 11 see her and have it feel more authentic and less obvious that you are with bad people right now? I'm trying to think how they could make this happen. And the way that 11 found her was via her mother, right?
And she found out about her mother because she had the fight with Hopper, and she had the fight with Hopper because she left on Halloween. I mean, it almost feels like there wasn't enough time for her to do what she did anyway, based on how much time was there between Halloween and Will being back at the clinic or the lab or whatever.
The timeline is something that I'm kind of fuzzy on because 11 seems to hitchhike everywhere.
Yeah, so that takes a while.
Yeah, but, she did steal her aunt's wallet to fly away, which I guess in the 80s it was a lot harder to get your cards canceled and everything before somebody went and spent a bunch of money. Yeah, but and clearly what they're doing here with Kali is setting up season 3.
Yeah.
They need to have her out there in the world doing her thing with a fucked up power of her own. So I'm not going to pretend that there was a way for them to just not have this whole storyline in this season if they wanted to have a season coming up that wasn't completely attached to the Upside Down, which apparently has been sort of closed off.
Right. but it's still there.
The timing just really doesn't quite work. So I think what it comes down to is that maybe they could have not had this whole thing and put the opening scene of season 1 at the end of the season instead of at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, you have her traveling to meet her mom, finding out about her sister at the end of the season, but then tapping in and realizing that there's something wrong and she has to go home before she can go look for her sister.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, that'd work.
Right?
Yeah, that'd work.
I'm just really interested in like the structure of this kind of stuff because I
as a
really
writer,
like what they were doing, but it just didn't quite work. So, and like the first person that they go to find is the guy who melted her mom's brain. Yeah. So, it's a pretty good target if you're going to try and recruit her. Mm-hmm. But it is, there are children in the house.
Yeah. And so that totally undermines.
Layer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because she doesn't want to kill someone's dad. She doesn't want to rip apart a family, even if the dad is, a giant lunatic asshole. Plus, this guy is now feeding her this shit about Papa potentially actually still being alive.
Oh, yeah.
Which then Kali uses against her later to try and convince her to stay, which pissed me off. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is not the way to do this. If anything, this is going to make her want to leave more, because if what you're trying to sell her is we're family, this is a family, you're my sister, you've come home, and what she's getting from you is murder and fucking with her brain. Right. And then she goes into her own private space and she sees Hopper in trouble, and sad, missing her, then what choice is she going to make, really? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
She's going to go with the guy who didn't actually physically, or didn't mess with her mind, didn't make her see lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, too, that there's something that's going to be coming in another season, which is that she's saying, you made a van flip over because you were angry that they were trying to get you again. And tap into your anger and your power will be stronger. And the next season, we're going to be like, no, it's actually if you tap into love, your power is stronger. You flipped that van not because you were angry, but because you cared so much about the people
that you were protecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, and Kali, her name, the Destroyer.
Right.
It's a little heavy-handed.
I was just going to say those exact words. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like there was a way to do this and they kind of misjudged how much we would side with her. Mm-hmm. And there are many things I've seen where somebody wanting to take revenge feels so much more sympathetic.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yeah, no, they should. Mm-hmm. And Kali has a backstory where I feel like I should sympathize with her more than I wound up doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe part of why I didn't is because she is going out and getting these people with her crew who don't know
awful.
anything about this. They're not, this isn't their problem.
I think they know why they're going after these specific people, but they're just there for robbing shit. Mm-hmm. That's all they want to do. They're there to steal. They don't care about why they're finding these people. They're like, oh yeah, you can go kill people and then we'll take all their shit. Mm-hmm. And then there's that weird line in the, where they stop at the gas station and she says that thing about your money's insured. All we're doing is stealing from the war criminal billionaires who own this place. And I was like, this is a place called what was it? Walter's Stop and Go. I'm pretty sure other than yes, if you take it far enough down the line, those war criminal billionaires own all our shit. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure he owns this place. This is not.
Yeah,
this
if they
isn't
showed us a
mobile.
Sunoco, then
yeah,
okay.
Right? This is to some schmuck in the middle of rural Illinois, and you're robbing his shit and being like, nope, you're fine. I'm like, nah.
And maybe that's what we're supposed to get from it, that she's like rationalizing and rationalizing incorrectly. Mm-hmm. But again, you got to make us be on her side a little in order to care what 11 chooses to do. Right. And they haven't done that. And this crew, it's like, are they just going after everybody that made these people's lives miserable too? In addition to Collie's, like, Collie has a much more, in my opinion, probably cut and dried case than the average person regarding who fucked her life up. Right. But I wonder, when we first see them, they're fleeing some building that looks like an apartment building. Mm-hmm. And who were they after then? And these people clearly have faulty judgment, a lot of them. So how do you believe that who you're going after really deserves it when you're getting a totally subjective, like, report on what happened in their lives, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. There's very little sympathy for any of these characters, which is just a weird way to set it up. To make everybody around her, everybody around Collie, be just not sympathetic at all to one degree or another. I mean, what was the guy's name? The driver, big black guy.
I do not remember. David?
I don't know. Goliath. Goliath. Let's go with Goliath. He seemed nice.
Yeah, he was the one where I was just kind of like, all right, that guy seems pretty chill.
Yeah, and then, like, the girl who was like, I really don't want to be doing this because you guys are making stupid mistakes. I was like, you know, at least she's got a little bit of a head on her shoulders. But then the other two, I'm like, fuck those guys. I hope they get caught. I hope they die. Which isn't really how you should be feeling about characters that, in theory, it's like, maybe she'll stay with them. I'm like, no, there's no way she's going to stay with them. They're fucking maniac assholes.
Yeah, I mean, and the way we're introduced is just like, oh, here are all of the people who have been left behind by society. Mm-hmm. But how, though? We don't know any, like, she just says that, and I'm supposed to, I guess, believe it. Yeah. When, again, their judgment seems real faulty, and maybe they were left behind because they're bad people.
Right.
Maybe. Perhaps.
Yeah. Maybe a little.
So, in the end, 11 does not shoot this man. Mm-hmm. And she does not let Collie shoot him either. She, like, uses her power to push the gun aside. Mm-hmm. And Collie, when they leave, says, you can choose to be merciful if you want, but don't take my choice away. Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, you know that her standing there while you shoot that man is still her being an accessory to murder, right? Yeah. Like... The whole way that she frames it is just, it's like, you know, you're choosing to kill a person, not like do your hair a certain way.
if you want to have autonomy in this action, go do it yourself.
Right, exactly.
And if you've taken her along because you needed her help, and now you're going to be like, but you took away my choice to do this. I'm like, well, then you had to do it without her if you didn't want her to have any say. Yep. Sorry, she, you know, and her say kind of trumps yours because yours is kind of a final judgment that you can't really undo. So, whatever, she's going to take your gun away because all you can do is, you know, make giant walls appear and do creepy shit like that. But she can actually physically take things away from you. Right. She can physically murder, you know, Demogorgon dogs. So I don't think you have much chance against her.
I wonder if she could make Demogorgon see things. Does that work on them? You know, that'd be interesting.
That'd be cool.
Have, like, suddenly make it look like there are fires surrounding them or something so that they run away. Yeah. But yeah, so I think
11 goes home.
Yeah, I think that we've pretty much covered this one. Yeah. And she, like you said, she tries to use what's his face and is like, I see my past mistakes in you, and I'm hard on you because I know what you're going through. And I'm like, again, there's just there were better ways for them to do this. So she finally decides that it's time to go home and takes a bus where an old black lady is just like, hey, what are you sitting all alone for? Can I join you? And I'm like, I guess. Later on, though.
I was kind of creeped out by this. I was like, is this a bad guy? Or are we introducing some random new bad guy who's stalking her? But no, they just needed somebody for her to say that she was going home to.
Yeah.
All right, this whole episode's kind of hacky.
The home thing. And I'm like,
we get it. Yeah, so this episode was just way too heavy-handed for me, and I didn't enjoy it. It honestly made me put off my rewatching of these episodes until this morning. I went to go watch last night. I was like, oh, I should get started last night. And I was like, oh, it's episode 7. I'm too tired. I'll just fall asleep halfway through. I'm just going to go to sleep anyway.
I kind of thought for some reason that this episode was earlier than it was. So when we finished our second recording and we still hadn't reached them, I was like, oh shit, this is going to kind of lay a bit of a pall over the finale episode, because I don't expect Maggie to really like this any better than I did.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's go on to episode 2.
Okay.
This fucking creature that climbed out of the hole, the demo dog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The fucking doctor's standing there like, it's polycarbonate. He can't get through. Yeah,
what?
Well, except that they're magic.
And there are a zillion of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not just this one guy.
Oh, man. And
they just keep on coming.
Realizes a little too late and smashes the button for the alarm. And Mike, understanding what's going on, that they're too late, that shit's happening, runs and tells Winona that they need to put Will to sleep because he's the spy and he can basically kill them all. And she grabs Will and is like, who am I? And he's like, Mom?
Right. That's what that word is.
Right.
In English. And she's like, yeah, no, knock him out. God damn it.
He's really good in this. The kid who plays Will. He gets creepy, man. And he's like, does it in a real subtle way. Yeah. It's not like he gets this leering expression on his face. It's not like there's this, oh, I'm demonic now.
Right.
He's just off.
Yeah.
Like a little, something's wrong. So we get kind of like a replay of the season opener of the first season where everybody's like running to the elevators and slamming on the button, hoping that it'll close in time. And the demo dogs catch up. And when that elevator gets to the next floor and it opens, it's just a bunch of bodies with these things chewing on them.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly.
Goddamn. The effect of them chewing, where they open their whole flower heads up and then just start sucking on them with their zillion teeth. I'm like, yeah, no, that's good. They designed that well. That really does get you.
Oh God.
So the characters we care about all managed to pile themselves into a control room, basically. Lucky for them, that's where they ended up. They ended up somewhere that would be helpful.
Right.
So very convenient. So who's in there? Owens, Hopper, Bob, Winona, Mike, and unconscious Will.
I really like that you call everybody by their character name except
Winona. I'm sorry, I can't. I've known her too long. She's Winona in everything to me.
Yeah, I like Hopper's carrying Will, and it's clearly they're going to try and get out of the building, and then some dude comes flying across the hallway with a demo dog on top of him, and they stop and are like, never mind.
Yeah.
And this is the first time Bob has seen any of these things, and they can see them on the security cameras, and he's looking around, and he's just like, Jesus Christ, what? He really keeps his head more than one would expect.
He really does. Bob really has to roll with the punches here, and he does such a good job, and then it doesn't go his way, and I just feel so bad because he really, oh man, did he try.
He did. He
tried so hard to be like, all right, I'm up for it, let's do it, I can do this, and they're eating me.
Oh God. And it really felt like they were like, oh no, you might hope he's still alive. But let's cut back to him being eaten and hold that shot for like 45 seconds.
Way too long. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's when all the power goes out.
Yeah.
Which kind of irritated me because the satellites, the like light at the end of their, what do you call it? That's in the middle. Is antenna, I guess, maybe?
Yeah.
It's still on,
blinking.
and I don't know how that goes, but maybe that's true. I don't know.
Power source? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they have a backup generator for just those. But we cut from them getting into the control room to fucking Billy preening. And I was surprised to see that he is, in fact, not wearing eyeliner. Because I really thought this whole time that he was, but he just has eyelashes like that.
Yeah. I think he's like Nestor Carbonell on Lost, where he's just got like the perma guy liner. Just his eyes are like that. I know, right?
What? That's just so unfair to me.
It really is. Hey, but you at least have mad eyeliner skills.
I do have eyeliner skills. I don't have eyelashes, but at least you can buy those, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. It's just I'm terrible at putting those on. Plus, they're too long for me to wear behind my glasses, so I have to wear contacts if I'm going to wear fake lashes, because I tried to put on fake lashes once, and then I put on my glasses, and I was like, oh, I need to cut these down.
Yeah, I did that once, and then you cut them, and they look crazy.
They look terrible. Yeah, and then I found out from my husband, who has crazy long eyelashes, that apparently his eyelashes hit his glasses all the time, and he's just used to it. And I'm like, you used to wear contacts. Why don't you do that? This was like the most annoying sensation I've ever felt in my entire life, was those things hitting the glass. Are you telling me you just do that all the time? He's like, yeah. I was like, can we trim your eyelashes? Because that seems fair. But God, no. But yeah, he just looks like that. And he's like up in the mirror and he's smiling at himself, and
he like turns and like cocks a hip like, hey, check out that ass.
Like it's goofy as hell.
So funny. I love it. Yeah.
But then we get to see exactly the family dynamic that we were expecting to see, which is
exactly.
Yeah. Passive wife, asshole dad, calls him a faggot. And so we're like, oh yeah, no, that's this guy. He's a homophobe and probably a racist. And clearly that's where Billy got that from. And yeah, he's abusive and he's a dick. And Billy's going to be an abusive, homophobic, racist dick. And the cycle of dickishness continues.
Yeah, and I saw some people that felt like the use of the word faggot was not, they didn't feel like it was necessary, but I kind of thought it was. Like, I
think it was just enough of a shock. It kind of needed to be in there, and it was period appropriate. Let's just say that much. I don't like hearing it. I felt gross saying it just now.
Yes.
But it felt real. It really felt like exactly what that guy would say in that moment. There's nothing else he would say.
Yeah, there are, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I am not trying to say those people who felt like it was inappropriate or not okay are wrong. I just feel like if you're going to try and be like pretty character aware, people are going to say awful shit. And it's just like, if you're going to write real people, and it's a little odd because Stranger Things feels at times like it is not writing real people. So I guess I could see how tonally it doesn't seem to work. But I feel like what's going on with Billy and Max is in general a shift for the show.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I'm kind of wondering if that's not going to be something that comes up in season 3 inevitably with Kali. Like, I don't know how that would go, but I feel like there's something heading in that direction. But
again, like you said, I understand perfectly well why anybody watching this, hearing that word, would be like, okay, that's unnecessary, because it's not fun to hear.
Right.
I don't enjoy it. I get it, but it felt right.
I agree.
That felt completely right, because that guy is gross, and it's a gross guy who says gross things.
And it's so casual. The way that it's said is just, it's not even like like there are people where it's like they're flinging an insult.
Yeah, like they're spitting it at you. It was like, no, this is just a casual thing that he would just say any old time.
Yeah, it's just
like a totally casual part of his vocabulary. He doesn't even think about it at all.
Yeah, really, I don't know. I kind of felt like in the way that they did it, it really illustrated a specific type of bigoted homophobe that is. It's not even like, oh, I'm trying to insult you. It's just like, this is what I think. I'm saying the thing I think, whatever. And yeah. So anyway, but again, like I said, if you didn't like it, I get it. I'm not like saying that you are wrong for not liking it. And I am not somebody who is affected by this word. So I also don't have any stakes in it, in a general sense. So my opinion really doesn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, it's not a word that gets flung at women very often, and I have straight passing privilege anyway, since I'm married to a guy. So it's not a word that's ever been aimed at me. So I don't have the emotional capacity to understand what it would mean to plenty of other people that I love and care for, hearing it on a show that they were not expecting to hear it on. So that does really fucking suck. But yeah, so I hate being like, it felt real though, but it kind of did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so these guys stepmom is like in the background too, like hovering, and she tries to be like, it's okay to keep the dad from doing what she knows he's going to do. But, of course he's like, it is not okay. And kind of decks him in the face. And it's like, what did we talk about? And there's something about how restrained he is here as he's screaming in his son's face. Not even screaming. He's not screaming. I think that's what's so alarming, is that he could be so much worse, and this isn't that bad for him.
Yeah. No, this is just speaking powerfully from the diaphragm. It's a version of yelling that I know very well because I do it a lot. And my husband will say things like, stop yelling. Why are you yelling? I'm like, oh, this is not yelling. You'll know when I'm yelling. Yep. This is just me being pissed. And this is just what it's going to sound like. Yeah. And and you don't want to hear yelling.
Yeah. I mean,
Billy does not want to hear actual yelling from this guy. He's going to do what he has to do to avoid what happens when this guy actually yells.
Yeah, because he says, isn't that right? And Billy doesn't answer. And then he yells, isn't that right? And gets up in his face. And, he's just towing that line right now. And I just love I love this dude's acting here, Billy, because the humiliation is so, I think he just does such a good job of getting across how he has to get this out on someone. Right.
And it parallels so perfectly the interaction that a lot of the interactions that he's had with Max, but the interaction he had in the car when he almost ran the kids down, it's that same sort of thing. Like, you didn't answer me the way I needed to be answered. And so now I'm going to do this really aggressive thing to you. So you see him, the only way he can process the way his dad treats him, he's going to treat somebody else like that. Just shit rolls downhill, and Max is at the bottom of the hill, and it sucks. Yep. Because he can't fight back here. He can't do anything about it. And so he's going to go hit on Nancy's mom in the weirdest, grossest scene in the whole show, I think.
We'll get there. We go from him to our crew with Steve, and they're talking about the Demogorgon dog growing so quickly. And what's that?
Is this when Lucas gets pissed at Dustin for lying about having kept Dart around?
Yeah. He's like, Lucas here, and he's like, wait, he ate a cat? And Dustin's like, no. Like, he doesn't want him to know. Because that means that he kept it in his house again.
Yeah. And the way Steve's like, yeah, he did. He ate his cat. His cat. He ate Muse. That's his cat. Just, of course, why are we lying about this? Not understanding what at all it signifies. God, I love Steve so much. I just love this actor. He's so great in all these scenes. He's just like, yeah, okay, I guess we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, you broke the rules by lying to us and put the party in danger. And Dustin tries to throw back in his face, you told a stranger the truth about everything. You did the same thing, which, come on, it's not really the same thing. Shut up.
And Max is pissed about being called a stranger when Dustin is the one who approached her in the first place.
And he shines a flashlight directly in her face in this really snotty fucking way.
Yeah.
But then Steve tells them all to knock it the fuck off because he hears something. And appropriately, Max is like, why are you all running towards the sound? But finally follows because she apparently does not have her own flashlight and also does not have anywhere to go by herself with demo dogs running around. So
that's true.
And they crest the hill and there is the whole building with the lights out, you know, and he's like realizing that they are heading back there. And at this point, they don't know what's going on with Will, right?
No.
So they aren't even aware, like, the danger to their other friends at this point because they don't know they're there, heading exactly to where it's. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Heading exactly to where their buddies are holed up at the moment. So. So then comes the scene inside the lab where it is apparent that Bob is going to have to be the one to go. And he agrees to take one for the team and head out there like a hero. And then we go to Nancy and Jonathan, who are also headed to the lab. And they run into Steve and crew outside. And they all realize that they can't get inside because apparently the power is off and all of the gates are closed. So they're all positioned outside once the power does come back on. And they think that that's going to be able to be enough because they are thinking in the same way that Hopper is. Not thinking about how everything is computer automated. Just the power's back, so now we should be able to press the button and get in. And that's not really how it works.
Right.
So we kind of cut between Bob doing his thing and the kids outside and the doctor instructing Bob on where to go because there are demo dogs everywhere.
Right.
And
so he's got a navigator, which is nice.
It's really well done, too. It feels like they're actually talking and listening to each other, which sometimes it does seem like they're not. Like, they have this at their disposal in movies and shows, but they are choosing to ignore the person who can see more than they can.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There have been a couple things where they're like, what do you mean go that way? That's not such and such. Why are you there's no time for this.
No.
They can see.
And
just do what they say. Christ.
Yeah. And he does for a second. He's like, where do you want me to go? And he's like, just go. And he's like, all right, let's go. Mm-hmm. But I like that they've taken the two people who are not part of the team. And you're like, okay, either of these guys could be the red shirt at this point or both or whatever. But having them commit to being the guys who are going to be the heroes here.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to take one for the team, even though they really have not been part of the team. Yes. They're going to get these kids out of the building. And especially in Paul Reiser's case, we're like, oh, okay. He's, he does feel bad. This is a person who's capable of quite a good deal of remorse. So, right. You know, his whole sort of threatening to kill Nancy and Jonathan thing a while back, maybe I'll forgive him for that, I guess.
Maybe he really didn't expect to have to follow through on that. And it was just an empty threat.
Exactly. He wouldn't actually do it. But yeah, he's like, all right, this is what I got to do. I'm the navigator and he's the nerd and we'll make it work.
And when Sean Astin finally, like, he has to duck into a closet and there's that really scary moment because you know they can get through fucking doors. Like, they crash through doors multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so he gets out there and there's this moment of just like him seeing one of the dogs in the hall. The dog stops and looks at him and he looks at it and the look of utter terror. Sean Astin's acting in this moment is so damn good of just like, oh my God, I think I might have shit a little.
Yeah.
And then he turns and runs. And he slams the door behind him and apparently thinks that's enough, even though he did not think that was enough when he was in the closet. He knew full well they could get through the door then. But all of a sudden here, he thinks that door is a better door, maybe?
It has a little flashy light on it.
So he does that thing where he stops and smiles at Winona because they're safe now, except they're fucking not.
Get out of the building.
He gets jumped by one of them, and then like 6 more come out. And like you said, I just really hoped that they weren't going to do this to her. Like the scene at the end with Hopper is really such a bummer, and I was glad that they did it to underline that it's a mostly happy ending for everybody else, but she is the one that's really getting put through the ringer, like over and over again, you know? Yeah. And Will too, but Will's, you know, it seems at the moment, like whatever happened to him is over now, hopefully.
Right. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, and then Hopper has to come running in and grab her and drag her out because she doesn't want to leave him. And, you know, they established earlier that Bob said to Hopper, you know, leave me, you know, get them out, you know, forget about me.
Yeah.
And I like the scene where Hopper's like, you know how to use one of these things? And he hands him the gun and Bob's like, no. And Hopper just looks so annoyed. Like, how do you live in rural Indiana and not how to shoot a fucking, God damn it.
Yep.
Okay. Here's the safety, pull a trigger. And then Bob sort of half points the gun at Hopper as he's like, okay, this is how, and Hopper has to like push it down. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that.
Point it at anybody unless you're going to shoot it. Like, just keep your finger off the trigger if you're not going to shoot it. I just love when people who actually know how to shoot guns have to deal with people like me who don't know how to shoot guns. And we're like, ugh! And the people who do it all the time are like, oh, for fuck's sake. This really isn't that hard. But I got Bob in that moment real hard. Like,
yeah, same.
Gun in my hand. Okay. And of course he leaves it behind. Like, it doesn't even occur to him to take it with him. He's like, all right, I'm going to go. Nope.
Yeah, when he left that, I was just like, God damn it. Not that it would have helped him when he got jumped from the side by,
right.
You know, like, because I kind of expected them to do this, oh, if only he had his gun moment. But they
really
don't even do that.
Yeah.
So when we cut from, you know, Hopper coming up with the truck and getting everybody to the buyer's household, poor Will is still passed out, and Mike is really frustrated with Hopper's alleged plan. And I say alleged just because it's not really a plan so much as a just, well,
here we are.
He's going to call the military, and they don't seem to really give a shit or believe him. And it's just, you know, I understand Mike being just like, this is bullshit. Meanwhile, poor fucking Winona, what is her name in this? Joyce.
Joyce.
Thank you, brain, I said. Is sitting in her room alone, wrapped in a blanket in a fucking, like, just catatonic almost, you know, like, oh God. Bob was so great. He was so good for her.
He was so good for her. Honestly, she's doing better than I think. And the fact that she has not just totally given her up and like just given up, curled into a ball and stopped, that she's still going to be like, all right, well, my son is still, there's more. I'm not done. Like, I get that. It's,
yeah,
so hard. Because, you know, in that moment, all she wants to do is to be like, I want to die. I don't want to be doing this anymore. This is awful. Everything is terrible. I'm going to die anyway. And but then she comes back out into the hallway and she's like, I want to kill this thing. I'm fucking tired of this bullshit. It took my boyfriend and it's trying to take my son. And how do we kill it? Let's kill it. Can we kill it? I want to kill it.
And in the kitchen, Mike has noticed the like stack of games and says, oh, did you know that Bob was the original founder of the AV Club.
Oh, and that killed me. That was, I
That was
loved
such
that.
a sweet little, like, weird note. I wonder whose idea that was, because that was genius.
Yeah,
I loved
that was
it.
pretty adorable.
Because of course he is. Of course he fucking
Yeah.
is. You know, like... and this is something that just meant so much to them. And they're like, really? And he's like, yeah, we can't let him die in vain.
Mm-hmm.
And they're realizing that if they stop the army, if they kill them all, there's a possibility that they are going to kill Will too.
Yeah.
And so they're in this like kind of catch-22 here. But Mike comes up with the idea that maybe if he isn't able to know for sure where he is, there's no way for him to defend himself, the shadow monster. And so they put him in a basically it's almost like a sensory deprivation, but except, you know, people can come and talk to him and whatnot.
Right.
The light shining in his eyes so he can't see around
Where
him
he
too
is.
well.
Have we skipped over the part where they talk about the mind flare? And Hopper
I
gets
kind of
incredibly...
did, yeah.
Because, oh my God, Hopper in that scene just cracks me up.
Oh my God.
Because Dustin's like, oh, because this and that and the other thing. And Hopper's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is a game for kids. He's like, no, it's not a game for children. And it's the best, and what does he say? It's the best metaphor for, and Lucas goes, analogy. And he's like, all right, but this is what you really want to argue about. Fine, but it's the mind flayer. He's the mind flayer. And then, like, well, okay, how do you defeat the mind flayer? And he says, oh, so you get an undead army because zombies don't have brains. And Hopper literally just like throws the book.
Oh my God.
Walks away. And it's like, for fuck's sake, what are we even doing?
And yeah, then he's like, it's a game. I'm sorry. Like,
no.
Tries to be like, no, this is the answer. And then, well, maybe it's like not the answer. Shoot him with fireballs or something.
Yeah. Where do we get zombies at this time of night? Shit. No, that's not going to work, Dustin. But it was worth a shot.
Oh my God, it's so great. I really want more of Dustin and Hopper, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the sort of Dustin, Hopper, Steve trio. I think could be a really fun spin-off.
A man at different stages of his life, basically.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this is when they realize the way that they can, keep him from knowing what's going on. And Winona comes out and says, we have to kill it. I want to kill it. She's just like out for blood now. So, and they, as you said, start calling it the Mind Flayer, which is such a crazy name. And I really like it. Mind Flayer. Flayer is not, it's an underused word.
Is it?
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to try and make a creepy like name for creatures or bad guys or whatever, Flayer is one, you don't hear that one too much.
I mean, when you see the Boltons actually having flayed people on screen, you're like, oh yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, it is.
That's fucked up. Okay, flaying, fucked up.
Flaying is fucked up.
Yeah. Just a reminder. Just a reminder, folks, if you'd forgotten.
So they get him all set up in there, and the point of what they're doing here is really that they are asking Will to remember things to bring him to the surface again, because this thing has kind of taken over his brain.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get him out. And in the meantime, there's a scene with Lucas and Dustin. And Dustin apologizes for lying about Dart. I guess I just thought he was my friend. I was wrong. I broke the rule of law. And he's like almost crying. So if you want your girlfriend to take over my spot in the party, I understand. And Lucas says, she's not my girlfriend. He's like, I saw you holding hands. Well, she was just scared. Well, maybe, but I could feel it. And he's like, what? And he says, the electricity. And then he just like grabs a bunch because they're looking for like newspaper and stuff to like dull the sound. And he just takes it and walks away. And Lucas is sitting there looking like he doesn't know what to think about that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of loved that little moment of Dustin just being like, listen, don't, like, you guys, there's something there. And I accept that you are the one that got the girl. And that is just fine. Like, not fine, like it's a bummer. But he's acknowledging it in a very mature way, I felt like. You know? So I don't know. I just love the two of them as friends. You know?
Yes, I do too. I want them to sort it all out.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what happens next. So I guess
is that when they start questioning Will?
Yeah, I think so. And he starts flipping out, screaming, "Why am I tied up? Why am I tied up?"
And you get this weird vocal, like when he's screaming, "Let me go," and his voice starts doing weird sort of exorcist-y things. I was like, I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else is just kind of in the house, like, waiting. Like, they're not part of this, really, because they're not close enough to Will to do this. So Joyce tells a story about when she got him this box of crayons. And it was really adorable. And I really liked it. Mike tells him a story about how he came up to him and asked him if he wanted to be his friend.
I love that story so much, especially because it very neatly parallels the story of two friends of mine from high school, one of whom died about a year and a half ago, and I went to the funeral, and the other friend had been his best friend since preschool, and it was the same sort of story. One of them walked up to the other one and saw that they didn't have any friends and said, "Do you want to be my friend?" And then they were friends forever. And then one of them had to give the eulogy at the other one's funeral. He died at 36.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That was hard to listen to. And so to hear it again here, I was like, I really hope that doesn't happen to these lovely young men. Please let them live a little bit longer than that. That'd be nice. But yeah, it's a really adorable story. And poor Mike. I mean, Mike is so young to be dealing with this on the level that he's dealing with it. You know, the other guys are in the other room sort of dealing with crazy shit. But they have Mike in there doing the really emotional, hard work. And he's 12? Are these supposed to be 12 still at this point?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, poor kid.
And as he's telling this, and as like his brother comes and tells him like about, remember when we were building Castle Byers, and his hand is going nuts, and it did not occur to me that he was doing Morse code. I thought that was like the creature trying to escape.
Right, I did too.
Like, yeah,
like he was trying to get out of his binding somehow.
Exactly. He's acting cool and like keeping eye contact with them while his hands are feverishly working to get out of there.
Right, exactly.
So this goes on for a bit, and it seems like maybe it's working until Joyce comes forward again and is like, "Hey, are you in there?" And he just says, "Let me go." And apparently it's not working after all. It's I don't think I expected him to not be able to get through at all. Like once you find out that there's the Morse code, then you're like, okay, he's getting through a little bit, but at this moment you think that he's really kind of gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Like,
yeah.
Cause he's even almost starts crying, and then that's gone from his face, you know, like
it's totally gone.
It scared the shit out of me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was just like, what's going to go on with Will? I didn't think this was the kind of show where Will would really like be gone, like die, but also I could see that happening.
Uh-huh.
I was very much on the fence on that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. There was always there's a bit of a chance. I really didn't think it would happen, but it could. It was the only thing that gave me a little bit of nervousness towards the end. But still, at the end, when they have the big scene where they're trying to get it out of him and he grabs Winona, at that point I was like, neither of them are going to die. This is, I don't feel any suspense here. But
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, I guess in that scene, well, we'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah, so, that's a ways off.
Jonathan plays him that mixtape also. So we get Should I Stay or Should I Go again.
That's when that's after they figure out the Morse code thing.
Right, correct.
Yeah. So Hopper's the one who goes out and tells them it's Morse code, although they all figure it out right away.
Isn't it Steve who's like, what's that? And everyone says Morse code at the same time.
I think
which
you're
I
right.
just found hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have Jonathan continue like talking to him because they realize that Will is communicating while he's being talked to. So
right.
Hopper goes in and watches his hand while Jonathan talks to him. And they are writing down what he's saying, and it winds up being Close Gate. And we, in the meanwhile, get more stories about Will and how Will gave up his one toy truck to this sad little girl, even though he knew he couldn't get another one to replace it, which for some reason really got to me. Probably because I was a very selfish child and would never have done that. And so that really means something. And they're all in the middle of this when the phone rings, surprise. And, you know, this is the call they've been waiting for probably from the military or whoever. But they rip the phone off the wall and it's not enough because Will's figured it out. And connects with whatever and is summoning them there.
Yep.
And they are attacked by one, which Hopper shoots. And they're like, is it dead? And I'm like, just shoot it again. Just shoot it. What harm will that do?
Right.
And then they get distracted because something's opening the door and ta-da! It's 11 and she's back now.
Can I just say also how much I love Lucas still has his, like, Dennis the Menace slingshot there. So, like, Nancy's got a shotgun and Hopper's got a gun. And Lucas is like, all right, I got a rock.
Yep.
I'm ready to go.
And Steve still has his baseball bat.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Steve and that bat. You see him at one point, like, practicing swinging the bat, which I love. Like, he's really swinging away. He's swinging for the fences. I'm like, oh, Steve. Why are you so great now? I hate it. So confusing. But yeah, there's 11. Oh, and the look on Mike's face.
Holy shit, Mike. Why is he so good at this?
Oh, Mike just broke my heart in this moment.
It killed me. I don't understand this actor being as good as he is. Did you go see it? I can't remember.
No, I haven't seen it because I still haven't read the book and I really feel like I should, but it's so long, so I just need to see the movie.
You could do the audiobook.
I could. That's true. Because it's ridiculous how long that is. I got into the very beginning of that book, and I got as far as We Float, and I went, nope. Okay, I understand why people are scared of clowns now. This is written real scary, and I don't like it. And I don't know how much further I'm going to be able to go in this. So
fair, yeah.
I did. I moved on through the next segment, and then I was like, and I'm stopping.
Yeah, the voice actor, I don't remember who it is who does that book, but he is really good. Another one of those that is just so flawlessly going from one character to another vocally that you forget it's not a full cast recording because he's just really good. So yeah, highly recommended. But it is, 40 plus hours long.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so going into the final episode, Mike flips out on Hopper about how he's been hiding her the whole time. And Hopper is just like, listen, you child.
But we've got this moment where she says that she'd been listening to him and hearing him count all those days, which is that thing that I loved at the beginning of him saying how many days it had been every single day, and her then telling Hopper how many days it had been since she'd left because she'd been hearing him this whole time. And that's how Mike is then like, what do you mean you could hear me? Why didn't you talk to me? And Hopper's like, because I wouldn't let her. And then we get a little Hopper hug.
Oh my God.
And then we get a bunch of Hopper hits because Mike is really not happy about this.
He calls him a stupid, lying piece of shit and starts to punch him repeatedly in the stomach, like with
sad
force.
Little ineffectual punches.
Like he's really trying here to like hurt him. Mm-hmm. And Hopper is the adult who just holds him and says he's sorry. And I am ashamed to say I would not have been as kind and adult as Hopper is here because I do not understand children.
Yeah.
And that moment I was just like, okay, Mike, you need to fucking stop it.
Yeah.
Which is probably what I would have done and like grabbed his arms and held him and been like, no. But instead, Hopper reacts with total compassion and sweetness and light. And I love him forever.
He's a lovely dad person. And he with a ton of empathy. And, you know, the thing is he gets it. And he got it with her the whole time. He got how sad she was. He got how unfair it was in a lot of ways, what he was doing to her. But he didn't feel like he had any choice. So he's not unsympathetic to Mike. He gets why he's so upset. And also he's this sad little wet noodle child trying to punch him.
Wet noodle child.
He is. He's just like, yeah. And Hopper's like, all right, I got you. Come on. Let's come in for a hug. We're going to chill out. I'm going to give you a minute to chill out about this because we got more stuff to do. So let's bring it down.
So speaking of stuff to do, what did you think about Max trying to introduce herself and 11 just being like, no?
It felt very much like a couple 12-year-olds interacting with each other.
I had like so many people were just like, really? Are we going to do this dumb jealousy between girls thing because they're always just such bitches to each other? But I was like, listen, 11 saw Mike talking to this girl, apparently as much as 11 knows about, you know, human interaction, flirting with her.
Right.
And this is the first time that she's met her since that moment.
Right. So she has no way of knowing that, like, this girl isn't into Mike at all, and that Mike isn't into her. And it's the thing that motivated her anger when she was trying to move that train car. And I'm like, yeah, no, she's not going to shake Max's hand. This isn't a girl being a bitch thing. This is a 12-year-old jealous girl. It's true. Like, I wouldn't like it if this was how they had all the girls on the show interact all the time. But again, this is a moment that feels about right. I can't picture 11 just being like, yeah, hi, it's nice to meet you to anybody, honestly. Like, she wouldn't even know how to handle, like, shaking hands with somebody? What is this? What is this weird custom that you're making me do? So for Max to just walk up to her and stick her hand out, and 11's like, yeah, I don't know you, and I don't want to, and just walks right past her.
I felt like people really got on this part and like felt this was, you know, oh, what, can there only be one girl in the group? And I'm like, I did not get that at all. Like, no. It just felt like they were missing the point entirely, in my opinion. And not only...
This will rectify itself. This will be fine in the long run. 11's
exactly.
Not gonna be,
I'm like, this will inevitably, they'll like start to be besties. Like, what are you even talking about? And not only that, but Max could have been really threatened by this girl that the crew obviously misses a lot and hold in high esteem, coming back all of a sudden. And instead she's like, hey, you seem cool. I'm Max. Yeah. So, which I feel like undermines the outrage that so many people felt. I'm like, they're obviously setting it up that Max is open to there being another girl. Yeah. And wants to know her and is doing her best here. So this isn't just some petty, like, oh, a girl. Like, no, guys. But whatever.
No, we get more of that at the dance later with those are some fun middle school girl stereotypes. Oh my God. Hanging around at that dance.
I didn't go to a dance when I was in middle school.
Did you
have a dance?
Oh my God. That scene was hard for me to watch. I don't think I went to a single middle school dance that I didn't end up crying in the bathroom at some point. I was a very sad middle schooler with a lot of emotions just rolling around in my head. And so, you know, Dustin going up to those girls and time after time, and I was just like, oh no, I would be on the floor in a bathroom stall in a fancy dress weeping. That's what my 7th grade school dance experiences were. That's what every bar mitzvah was for me. It was just that a bunch of times over and over again. Yeah, I didn't have fun in middle school. I was sad.
I can't think of a single dance. Like, I mean, my first dance was homecoming as a freshman in high school.
No, we had them. We had at least, we had one in the fall and one in the spring every year. And I don't remember which one it was, but one of them, my dad came to pick me up wearing nothing but like a t-shirt and spandex shorts because he'd been out running.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, and my dad's a teacher at the upper school too.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so he shows up to pick me up and he's literally wearing bike shorts. That's it. There's and a sweaty t-shirt. He's like, I'm here to pick up Maggie. And I'm like, oh my God, everybody can see so much. Like, this is not good. This is not helping my popularity, Dad. Please don't show up in spandex at things for your 7th grade daughter, because it's a lot.
Okay.
That's my other middle school dance memory. Me crying and my dad in spandex.
That's amazing.
So if we want to list all my bad middle school dance experiences. But I did have one happy dance. In the very last dance, I finally got to dance with a boy that I liked to a song that I liked. And people knew that I liked the song. And so they had me dance with the boy because they knew I liked the boy. And it was very cute. So I had one final happy dance moment. But the rest of it was garbage. It was 4 years of misery and garbage.
So I guess they got it right.
Yeah. 4 years of Dustin. Me as Dustin.
Oh.
Possibly with worse hair.
Oh. So, well.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It was not a good time for me, just physically. Anyway, we're not there yet. We're at bitchy girls, which is not actually a thing in this scene at all. Really. That's silly. No, I don't know that.
We are in fact at Nancy's mom in the bathtub reading a romance novel.
Oh, Lordy.
Misty watercolored memories of
so
the
funny.
way we were.
Reading this horrible, fake romance novel, and the husband is asleep in the living room, so he doesn't answer the door. Mm-hmm. And she's got her hair piled up in these ridiculous tendrils. And apparently the Duffer Brothers were I read an article about this last episode where they were really shocked that they managed to get the rights to this song.
Oh, okay.
They were like, we didn't realize that Barbra Streisand was a fan of our show and would be cool with it. But there was no pushback at all. We got this. We didn't think we'd be in her wheelhouse, but there you go. And yeah, so she has to get out of the bath in her robe and go downstairs and meet Billy.
Oh my God, this scene. My favorite thing about this scene is probably the fact that she was just reading a romance novel with a dude wearing his shirt the very same way Billy is wearing his shirt here, unbuttoned to the navel. And she opens the door and he gives her this once over. Hi. And she is acting a fool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is so uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
And listen, he is in high school.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess he's the kid that got held back 3 times because he seems like that kid. I had my boyfriend in high school had a brother who dropped out and then came back after 2 years out. So he was 20 as a senior.
Well, that's fun.
And that is who I feel like Billy is.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that.
No.
And and I don't know that. I'm saying that I think that's probably who he is. But oh, this is just so not okay. I'm just watching this moment with his fucking earring. I'm looking for my sister, and I'm worried sick. And, and doesn't she, invite him inside or something, I feel like? Did she? Or no, he just, leans up against the door jamb.
Yeah.
And is giving her this look that, listen, if I were her at
Mm-hmm.
this moment and I were age appropriate, the look that he gives her, I might faint.
Yeah.
I might literally fall down. Because he knows how to turn it on when he wants to. And we have not yet seen this from him at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, everything about this makes me really uncomfortable. I just don't like it. I don't like reacting the way that I'm reacting. And I don't like that she's reacting the way that she's reacting because she's a goddamn adult.
Yeah. She's a real adult. Like, how old are her kids? Like, she's got, what is she, like 45? Something like that? This is a real Stifler's mom situation right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she does invite him in because she writes down the address. So that's what, because I was like, I know I saw him in her kitchen. I'm pretty sure. And she like offers him some cookies and he like takes a bite really slowly in this way. And I was just like, dude, you need to turn it off. And as soon as he gets into the car, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get, like, is it, because he says something about, like, he's not into high school girls to his sister earlier, and then he says that to her, too.
Right.
So I'm like, has he done this before?
I think it's certainly possible.
Because there's a moment where he's like, why did we come out here? Whose fault is that? And his sister's like, yours.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what? And we still don't know.
That's true. We still don't know what any of that meant.
You know, so I'm just like curious if this is alluding to something in his past.
Did he like sleep with one of her friends' moms or something like that? And
like,
that's what, yeah, that could be.
And it's just like,
that.
I don't know.
And that would be why he blames her for it. Like, cause you know, she's the one who set that
maybe ratted on
slutty woman up in front of me for me to inevitably have to have sex with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever.
And Nancy's mom just is like burning 2 holes in the back of his jeans as he leaves.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
That's understandable.
I mean, the man, it's so hard because, you know, he looks like he's like 28 years old, you know, like I know that he's supposed to be a high school student, but we all know the actors are like 10 years older than what they're cast for almost always.
I don't think he's that much older.
Let's find out. Let's find out.
What's
Billy
the actor's name?
Stranger Things. I don't remember his name.
I'm going to say, I think he's younger than Steve is.
Dacre Montgomery? Is that a real word?
He's 22. 22. That's not that much older.
Yeah.
So, that's still gross.
I mean,
even with a 22-year-old, that's kind of gross.
I mean, I'm looking at like them putting the doing his hair in the thing, that awful
mullet.
hair. Yeah, I just, oh man, is this going to be a thing that they try and make a funny like plot point that she's sleeping with a high school kid?
I don't know. They haven't given her a lot to do this season.
I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of this. Like, I don't understand. And like I said, I would faint. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm totally acknowledging, like, I get why she's reacting the way that she is, but also, like, holy shit, you just said you're probably here for Nancy, my daughter.
Yeah. Lady, pull it together.
And she's very, like, she's aware what she's sent, the signals that she's sending to him right now.
Oh, yeah.
She can tell he's picking up what she's putting down. Don't put it down in the first place for him to pick up.
Yeah. That's it.
Girl.
Yeah. Like, there are plenty of, like, actors that are way too young for me that I find really hot. But if they showed up at my front door, I would still be like, hi, child. Mm. Like, I mean, seriously, come on. Come on. No.
Oh, man. So, anyway. Well, I'm just going to leave it there because he drives away finally with the address.
Yeah.
I think the only like redeeming thing about that scene is just that I am so over Nancy's father.
Yeah, that I'd be okay with her running around on him.
Yeah, that's really
Like,
what it is. It's just like, in general, like, if she wants to have a side piece, then sure. But
yep,
just
go
not a
ahead.
fucking high school boy. That's all.
Yep, agreed. But she, she can leave old Stewart or whatever his name is long behind.
He wouldn't even notice.
He would not notice. He would be asleep
Yep.
on the couch, not paying any attention to what
The only time
she's
he'd
up
notice
to.
is if the phone rang or if somebody rang the doorbell.
And then he'd be like, God damn it, somebody else get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, at the buyer's house, they are figuring out exactly how they're going to do this because they realize that probably 11 can be the one to close the gate. And we have another moment of Hopper talking about these things and Dustin interrupting him to say demo dogs.
Demo dogs.
He's
like, so insistent.
Really? Is this the most important thing right now? No. It's not. I'm sorry.
You're right. I'm sorry. It's so funny, Dustin. I've forgiven Dustin for his foibles earlier in the season because he's been so delightful in the last couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they're figuring out 11 has to close the gate. And do they decide that Joyce is going to try and burn the thing out of Will before 11 leaves?
I think so. I think she figures it out like kind of at the same time that they're figuring this out. Like they're thinking about what they're going to do about Will being in danger with this whole thing going on.
Right.
So I think it's about at the same time.
Yeah. So Hopper and 11 leave knowing there's a possibility that what they're about to do could probably kill Will.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus,
Mm-hmm. Joyce is going to do her best, but let's see how this goes. And then we get Hopper cock-blocking Mike.
Right.
Which was hilarious. And I actually went on Facebook to write stop cock-blocking Hopper on Facebook. Because, come on, Hop. I know you're basically her father figure, but just let her have one little smooch before you make her run off and try and save the world. Just
Agreed.
Like, how long would this take? It would have taken less time than it takes you to say to her, come get in the car. They could have kissed for like a second. Come on. This is 12-year-olds. They're not going to go like at it.
Keep things PG in here, okay?
Yeah, I mean, they kiss later on. It's literally like a second. Like just a little peck and then let her go. Come on. Hopper. Meanest dad in the whole wide world.
And there's also a moment of Nancy and Steven and him basically being like, listen, you and Jonathan are a thing. Like, just let it be a thing that is happening anyway. Like, and he says I might be a pretty shitty boyfriend, but I'm a great babysitter. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had mixed feelings because I'm like, you weren't really a shitty boyfriend, really. Either. It was just that you didn't understand how she was feeling about what happened with Barb. Like, right. And he could have, I think, if he really stopped, but he didn't stop and think about it. All he could think about was how not to incur the wrath of, the lab people.
Right.
And
so in his own way, trying to keep them safe.
Yeah,
it's sort of a variant on what Hopper was doing by keeping 11 away. He is just of the opinion, like, let's just keep our heads down and make this go away so that, this person I love are not in danger. And she's like, yeah, but I lost this person that I love and it was my fault.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't quite get that. I don't think she was really, communicating it very well to him throughout either. But that's the thing is I feel like if you're going to say he's a shitty boyfriend, I don't really feel like as boyfriend and girlfriend, they were doing a lot of like real deep thoughts with each other in general. Anyway, it seemed like a pretty surfacey relationship, whether or not that's because Nancy still had Jonathan feelings and Steve is only just figuring out how to treat women like people, as demonstrated in his conversation with Dustin. They're young. They have stuff to figure out. Clearly. I don't think that necessarily makes him a really shitty boyfriend per se.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is just he can try and understand it on a mental level, but he can't really get it viscerally the way that Jonathan can, because Jonathan's family has lost so much.
Mm-hmm.
So try as he might, there is a certain like implicit understanding that Jonathan can offer that Steve can't.
Mm-hmm.
And
Steve does at least understand that.
Yeah, and I think it's the kind of thing that you really can't help to a degree that you don't understand it. You know, like there's just certain things you have to have gone through in order to be at that place, and he hasn't, and there's just nothing much he can do about that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's just kind of getting that finally.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a mother hen, which is better, and I like it. So then we have this scene with Hopper driving 11 where he's like, "Where the fuck did you go?"
Mm-hmm.
And she tells him that she was in a nice man's truck, and he just looks like he is so horrified that he doesn't even know where to start in saying that.
Right.
And then he finally is like, "Listen, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have lied to you. I lied to you about everything. When you could leave, whether your mom was still alive." And the thing is that when she asked if she had a mother, he says she's not around anymore, which I don't feel like is a lie, because she's not really here now. But
it's a lie by omission, basically. But it's, you know, he probably thought, what good would it do for her to know? What good would it do for her to go see her? She can't communicate with her without being like, Hopper, she can communicate all sorts of weirdo ways that you can't communicate. So maybe don't write that off as a possibility. But yeah, nice man's truck. Oh God. Right. I can only imagine. Sega would lose his mind, seriously. If when my child was 12 years old was like, yeah, I was in a nice man's truck, my husband would not. That truck would have come to a screeching halt right there. There would have been a very long conversation. Hopper it would have been more of a, I know we're supposed to be going and saving the world and people we love, but we're going to talk about why you don't get in nice men's trucks. Let's do that now. But instead they have this talk, and they start talking about his daughter, who he never told her about.
Yeah, and he isn't like, oh, hey, she died in this accident, which we actually never have gotten for sure confirmation that that's what happened. He says the black hole got her.
And there's been a lot of speculation that I've seen online that his daughter dying had something to do with stuff that was going on at the lab.
Yeah.
So I think that might be something to watch out for in season 3.
Which would be pretty great, I feel like. Like there's
to pull that storyline back in.
There's moments of just being like, is it necessary to have everything tie together all the time? And like, no, but that'd be really good sense. Though, I think.
It would make sense. Like if your child, you know, or it could be he becomes suspicious that it has something to do with the lab, and then you have to be like, no, sometimes kids just die of cancer. You know, so there's like a certain paranoia aspect that starts pulling into it, and it turns out not to actually be what happened. But it's also certainly possible that living close to this lab with all this weird shit going on could make small children very sick very quickly, which is what happened to his daughter. So, we'll see.
And when he's telling her this, his acting is just so like, and he's like, I think that's why I get so, and he like takes this deep breath through his nostrils and just says, mad. And I was like, oh man, that felt real. Like there's this like vibrato when he says it that I'm like, that shook the earth. Like he is mad. And then says, I'm sorry, I can be so, and he's trying to find the word. She just goes, stupid. He just laughs and is like, yeah, stupid. And then it's like, okay, I'm not trying to make fun of your look. Actually, I think it's kind of cool. And she says, bitchin'. And he says, yeah, okay, sure, bitchin'. And it's just the sweetest ever, and I love them. I love them so much. I love Hopper.
I know.
Every woman has got a crush on Hopper, I think. And many men probably too.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, they are heading there. Meanwhile, our crew back at the house is just benched, as they're saying.
And they don't like it.
They are really irritated. And this is when fucking Billy shows up. And he's looking for his sister, and there's this like weird confrontation outside with...
Which I love Steve's part in all of this. Doesn't he say when Billy comes out and says, "Oh, Harrington, is that you?" And Steve's like, "Yeah, it's me. Don't cream your jeans." It's like, I love what's happening.
It's so great. Like, Billy imagines this weird like nemesis thing happening. And
Steve's like, "What are you even doing, man?
Yeah.
What the fuck?" And then he's like, "Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what your sister, like, I don't know anything." And he's like, "Well, who's that there?" And they turn around and all those dumbass 12-year-olds are just staring out the window blatantly. And then they sit back down and are like, "Do you think he saw us?" And Steve's like, "Oh, God damn it. Listen." And then Billy just clocks him.
Oh my God. I love that so much because he's like trying to be like, "Did you not hear what I just said? She's not here." And yeah, like he was handling it about as well as one could expect considering.
And Steve is like, "Oh my God, that's right. I'm surrounded by small children." Oh God.
So Billy like comes in and makes this fucking entrance with slamming the door open. And you know what happens when you disobey me. I break things. And he grabs Lucas, a tiny child, and shoves him against the wall saying, "Stay away from her," like he's the problem. Like, really? Yeah. And Lucas knees him in the balls.
Yes, he does.
Which is pretty awesome.
Good job, Lucas.
But Steve then comes at him and decks him. Pretty good one, to be honest. But this guy has experience with getting hit that Steve does not have.
Right. And
Steve, in short, gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, he really does.
I mean, Jesus Christ, it is rough. Like, for a second, it looks like it's maybe going to be
sort of evenly matched.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they try. Like, Steve does okay for a second, and then all it takes is just one weak moment to get him on the ground, and Billy's all over him.
Yep. Yeah, because he ducks on the first swing and hits Billy twice more, and you know. You're feeling like, yeah, but he like headbutts Steve, I think, at one point in the face.
Yeah.
And then once he gets on top of Steve and he just starts like going to town on his face, it is hard to watch.
Yeah. I'm shocked Steve still has teeth later in this episode. Yeah.
Oh, which reminds me, I forgot to say that 11 like literally reaches into Dustin's mouth and touches his teeth and says teeth to him.
Yes.
Which is a weird moment.
I enjoy that. And then he does that little growl thing and she like jumps. She's like, why is he an animal now that he has teeth?
So he's wailing on Steve and Max grabs a syringe full of that drug that sent Will to sleep and gets him right in the fucking neck with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't completely knock him out. It just, because, you know, he's like twice the size of poor little Will.
Sure.
But he's down and she grabs the bat and slams it on the floor between his legs like a fraction of an inch from his dick and balls.
Yep.
I mean, and he like, there's a moment with the camera
where he looks down at it. That's great.
He's just like, what? I feel like there's maybe a moment of just like, I've been drugged, so she might have hit me and I just didn't feel it. Did she hit me? You know what I mean? Like, and he looks down to just sort of reassure himself. Nope, it did not make contact.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, for now.
And then they steal the car. And poor Steve is the one that you think is going to be driving.
But he's knocked out, so they just have him in the back. And he starts waking up and realizes what's happening. And Dustin talking to him is so funny. He's like, "Hey, buddy, it's going to be okay. I mean, you got your ass kicked. It's fine, but you're going to be okay. We're good."
It is pretty brutal.
Yeah. And Max has like a box under her feet to be able to reach the pedals.
This whole thing with Max driving, this is like a bad dream, you know? It just gave me anxiety to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, at the cabin where Hopper had been keeping Eleven, he and Joyce and Nancy and Jonathan are setting up a bunch of space heaters and the wood stove and setting Will in the middle of it. And Nancy has some righteous fury going on. Let's kill this son of a bitch. It's had Will long enough. And this is what, like, I feel like this tactic of just making him warm so that it leaves should have occurred to me earlier. Did this occur to you at all before?
It didn't really. As soon as she said it, it made sense. I think my concern would have been the same as what Jonathan's concern is, which is that if this thing has him is this entwined with him, that heating it up will make it kill him. Yeah.
Yeah, same. So I kind of liked it because this is the kind of thing that I've seen when they're like, why don't we do this? And I'm like, yeah, why don't you? I wondered that 8 episodes ago. And for some reason it should have been obvious, but it just wasn't. And I don't know how they managed to make it not obvious, but you got me, show. So good for you. I'm wondering if there's anybody listening who's going, really? It didn't occur to you? I'm like, no, it didn't.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
So they go back to the lab. And Hopper gets out of the car, and Eleven has a little bit of a, like, flashback moment when she's standing there of just like, I can't believe I have to go in this motherfucker again. I think is what she's thinking, you know?
Yep.
And then, okay, so we cut from there to the car with everybody, and he looks at, I forgot this, Steve looks at Mike and says, Nancy?
And then Mike looks back at him like, are you high?
He kicked your ass, but you put up a fight. And he's like, who's driving? And then he realizes, and the panic on his face, it is great. And he tries to get out of the car once they park, and he could barely stand up. Like he's holding on to the doors of the car. And yeah, where they're going is to, I guess, the pumpkin patch.
Pumpkin patch, yeah.
And they're going to light this motherfucker up. Is basically the plan here.
Yeah. And Steve's like, no. Okay, fine. I guess we're here.
He promised Nancy would keep us safe, so keep us safe. Yeah. Dustin, you manipulative bastard. So yeah, they all have like actual face coverings and stuff that they
got bandanas.
Good for you guys for taking precautions like the adults did not do earlier. That's cool. Appreciate it. And they wind up coming across some demodogs, and one of them actually recognizes Dustin because it's Dart.
It's Dart. We also got Dustin getting splashed in the face by one of those like weird farting vines.
Oh yeah.
Sprayed Hopper earlier because he just looked up and stared at it like, wow, that looks cool, and sprays him, and he starts freaking out, and everybody's freaking out, and then he's like, it's okay, I'm good. I'm fine. And I got my mouth, and I'm like, oh, Dustin. Because I seriously was like, are we really going to, this seems like another extraneous thing that we don't need to have happen here. But yeah, no, he's fine. But then good, because when Dart comes around, he knows it's Dart because it's got that yellow patch on his back. And he walks up to him and offers him a Three Musketeers bar.
Which he just has with him.
Yeah, of course he does.
I guess he just was like, all right, we're probably going to run into Dart. Maybe the other one's like Three Musketeers too. I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe he just wanted a Three Musketeers for later for himself.
Maybe, because they are his top 3.
That's true.
So we cut before like that even happens. We cut to Will, who's getting that black vein thing on his face and grabbing Joyce by the throat. And the black vein thing is really overdone.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they had it look like it was coming up out of his skin somehow
Yeah.
really made it so much creepier for me.
Yeah.
But it did you see the second Kingsman?
I didn't, but they've used this effect in other things too that I don't necessarily want to spoil for people with other characters on other shows. But
yeah, I was thinking that one too.
yeah, so it's been around, it's been done, but they do it to good effect here.
Yeah, see, I agree. So
God, I can't wait until I can start saying things about that show without having to every single time be like, and in this show, okay, fine. So, then again, those who know me well know that I could be talking about a few different shows, so I'm not spoiling it for anybody by saying that.
That's true.
So, yay. Yes.
Yeah, we have some other networked shows that people are covering.
Yes, that I am a big fan of. So, could be any number of shows or multiple shows who do this same cliched black vein thing. But they did it pretty well here. And Jonathan's freaking out and thinks it's killing him.
Yeah, Jonathan wants to stop this.
Yeah, and Joyce is like, no, not until we get this thing out. And Nancy's just like, I'm so sweaty.
And Nancy, like, gets Will with a hot poker. Like, his actual poor little Will, which I felt really bad about, but, like, also what was she going to do, you know? Yeah. And she does that at the same time that Will, down in the tunnels, is lighting his lighter. And
Steve, you mean? And
yeah,
Steve
sorry.
Steve says something pretty funny here. So isn't he like, I can't believe this is what my life is, or something?
I'm in deep shit. And chucks it. And I just love the shot because he throws it and there's the slow-mo shot of him with his goggles and bandana over his mouth and all the kids behind him, like, gathered up. I might try and do a screenshot of that for this episode's image. But I just love that moment a lot. And he throws it and
Such a good babysitter.
starts screaming and the black smoke comes up out of his mouth and is like, the question I have here, was that if they had closed the gate before this thing got back, would it be stuck here?
Right.
It very much looks like when the Death Eaters travel in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But yeah, poor Will is like pale as fuck and sweaty, but he is all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's interesting to see how this plan, I think, really would not have saved Will if Steve and his little motley crew had not actually gone and done what they did.
Correct.
It was the missing piece that otherwise Will would have died. This thing would have taken him over and this thing would have been here. So
yeah,
yay.
that's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
They came through in the clinch and did the job.
As much as Steve was like, this is ridiculous and fuck, fine. But this is what's keeping you safe. I promised Nancy I'd keep you safe in a weird enough way. This is what's going to keep you safe. So and then Hopper and 11.
Yeah. So they're in there and Jonathan gets on the radio and tells them to close it. And they go in there on this like weird platform thing that he was on that one other time. That's like elevator.
Yeah.
And it is her focusing and trying to close this while he fights off the many demi-dogs that are trying to attack her with his multiple guns.
Right.
And can I just say that this big, strong, manly man with more than one gun hanging off of his big, strong, manly body.
Oh, I don't like how I feel about this.
Of a little girl that he's protecting.
Listen.
Does it for me.
I can't, I feel like I'm buying into some, weird caveman stereotype here. But, what am I going to do? Seriously, what are you going to do?
There's something about the thickness of your neck and the width of your shoulders that makes me think you'd be an agile hunter and a good provider for our children.
Okay, so anyway, now this is the part where we've got the Kali voiceover basically in her head, which I could have done without, honestly.
Agreed.
But she's actually lifting herself up into the air. And
which is kind of rad looking, to be honest. Yeah. I liked that as much as it's kind of goofy. I was still yeah.
And I didn't necessarily love the things that they chose to use in the voiceover because they have the Matthew Modine thing being like, this thing is going to kill you, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah. And I was like, I was worried for a second, like, is having him say that here indicating that by killing this thing, it's going to kill her and she's about to die. But then they
Ah,
establish very quickly when the thing closes up, she's fine.
right.
So I was like, okay, that got me all worried for no reason. Thanks, show.
Yeah, I'm like, I think what I thought with that was,
It
I
was just
and
a thing that was making her angry. And because he wasn't the one who actually said it, Kali was the one who had the vision say it. So,
well, what I had thought here was that the thing that I had said would happen probably next season, which is, oh, it turns out it's love.
mm,
I thought that was going to happen here.
yeah.
That we were having the voiceover of tap into your anger, and
Mm-hmm,
then all of a sudden she would like realize that wasn't what
mm-hmm,
worked best for her. But
right.
they don't. They just so I'm kind of thinking that that weird thing is setting up that later she's going to face, like she's going to remember it and try it again, and it's just not
Not going
going
to
to
be
be
enough.
enough for her anymore, you know.
Mm-hmm,
But we'll see.
mm-hmm,
um so yeah, she's doing that thing while everybody else is down there, and Dustin's being way too excited about seeing Dart again.
mm-hmm.
They really managed to give this demo dog
A
the
little bit of
body
sympathy,
language of like being an adorable little creature for a
like a
second.
puppy. Yeah.
Yeah. And as he's eating the candy, everybody else sneaks by.
Mm-hmm,
And, I love that I have the subtitles on while I'm
mm-hmm.
watching this, and they have in the brackets, Dart chomping and slurping, which just is like such a gross way to say that. And, yeah, they managed to just walk by him. And again, with the gate closing, do they all go with it? Do they, like, you know what I mean? I don't know whether they're still going to be out and around. Is Dart still out there?
No, I think they're dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're done.
And you can see as Eleven's trying to close that gate, the shadow monster moving behind it,
Yeah.
which I think is a pretty cool effect.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Um, so, all right, cool. As long as it's, actually gone and not somewhere up in space.
No, no, it's in the upside down because we
Mm-hmm.
see that in the last shot. The upside down's still there. It just doesn't have any of the tunnels up here anymore
Yeah.
being used. So, which is
yeah,
good.
we're cool with
So,
that.
yay, happy ending. And then
And then a month later,
we have an epilogue.
we have
Oh,
Hopper.
yeah, we'd forgotten that to mention that Owens was still alive, and when they went back into the building,
Right.
they found him in a hallway, having gotten pretty beat up and his leg chomped on.
Yeah.
And Hopper ties a tourniquet real tight and is like, "Hey, yeah, I've been hiding this girl. Um, Here she is, 11, Owens, 11.
Right.
Maybe realize she's about to save all your asses." And maybe when this is all done, if things go well, you could think about maybe helping her out.
Mm-hmm.
So a month later, the armies come and close things down. The news story got out about that they'd sent out about Barb, so they've
Mm-hmm.
gotten closure on the Barb thing.
I really like
And
that detail.
yeah, yeah. And then Hopper and Owens go out for lunch.
And I love he's like, "You want some of this? I'm going to finish it." "No, I'm on a diet." "A year?" And then grabs the sandwich and takes a big old bite of it. He's like, "Yep." But yeah, he's going to try and adopt 11, except that he wants to let her out at least just one night. And
Right.
he's like, "Well, what's so important about one night?" And it turns out it is the snowball of 84.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, I forgot that they draw Bob Newby as a superhero.
Oh yeah.
Will, why did you do this to my heart? Oh, God, that's so awful. Stop it. I totally forgot about that. And this is when we finally have Dustin and the payoff with his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yikes.
We got some Pat Benatar playing in the background for the climactic moment of his spraying.
Yep.
And Steve is his ride, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so cute.
Steve is his new dad.
He is. this is a guy, he needed a interesting male role model.
And
Very
there's
interesting.
Lucas like talking to himself in the mirror with his sister, just like, I
Making fun of
do love
him.
this song, but not as much as I love you. Oh my god, she's so funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Lucas is pretty funny too. His pickup lines are pretty pathetic.
oh my
Um,
god.
and Mike does not want to be going to this thing, and there are Polaroids being taken of him again, and he's still just like about everything because Mike's life is terrible. And yeah, so they head off to the dance, and yeah, what else happens? Oh, Nancy is there serving punch, and Jonathan's taking pictures, and it's all cute.
Mm-hmm.
And slow song.
Yeah. And poor Dustin gets rejected by everybody, and Nancy goes and dances with him, which I thought for a second he would take that like as a
It's an
kind of
insult.
insult, but
Yeah,
why did I say insult?
insult.
But instead, he is delighted because I forgot that like older sisters have power,
Yeah.
you know?
And like the other girls are now that just were making fun of him are now kind of like, ugh, he's dancing with her?
Right?
And I don't know how realistic that is, but I'll take it because it's Dustin and Ye.
Oh, and I forgot
And
when Dustin runs out, his mom's holding a new kitten too,
yeah,
which is adorable.
yeah, yep.
Sorry guys,
And
we're kind of rushing to wrap this because she has got to go for her
I gotta go.
child.
And we got Joyce and Hopper outside talking about how sad it is to lose someone you love and
Mm-hmm.
smoking some weed, which is really great for the sheriff of the town to be the
Right?
ones passing a joint off to Nancy or to Joyce. They all have such interchangeable names. To Winona.
And
And
11
yeah,
shows up. Yay! And her and
yeah,
Mike have their first kiss, which is sweet.
very, very cute.
And Lucas kisses Max, which has been a bit
Max
of
kisses
a
Lucas. Max kisses
right.
Lucas, which I think is adorable because then she makes like the cutest face at him and gives him this big hug, and then they're all smoopy.
This is something that has been kind of going around the interwebs that people have been uncomfortable about because apparently her kissing him was not in the script, and then the directors found
Did
out
it later.
that she didn't like that she was
She'd
afraid,
never.
and we're like, oh well, now we got to do it because it makes her uncomfortable.
Well,
But
I
she's come out
as
since
I
then and been like, it was fine, it's not a big deal, everybody.
right.
So you
Well,
know,
apparently he tried to play it off too, like it was no big deal because she was making such a big deal out of it. But the Duffer Brothers are like, yeah, it was his first kiss too. They were
mm-hmm.
both super super nervous about it and hated the whole thing. And apparently, 11 and Mike, they also did not want to be doing what they're doing. Um,
Right?
because I don't think they get along very well, those two actors in real life.
Did they not? Did you watch the
I
Stranger Things like beyond Stranger Things after?
Yeah, I get the sense that Millie Bobby Brown and um, the kid who plays Will are like absolute best friends and may kind of have
Oh,
crushes on each other or something.
huh, interesting.
They're closer in age too. They're the two youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, she apparently like they filmed it once and she was like, "Yeah, you guys got it. That's it. We're
Mm.
done. We don't need to do any more takes of that." So I don't know exactly what's up with that.
Interesting, because like they're interviewed together in the Beyond Stranger Things, and they seem to get along okay. But you know,
Mhm.
maybe they're just good actors because we know
I don't
they
know.
are.
Yeah, and maybe it's also sort of wasn't there always weird stuff with the kids on Harry Potter because, you know, maybe things had happened between them behind the scenes and weird flirtations and stuff. There's that like one clip that's always gone around of Emma Watson rolling her eyes when Daniel Radcliffe says something about they say something about when he kisses Cho, and Emma Watson is just like, ugh, and does this giant eye roll about it. And I
I
was
did
like,
not remember that. I don't know
oh,
anything
yeah,
about that. Oh,
I'm going to find
interesting.
that gif for you
Yeah,
because
send
it's
me some links on
interesting.
that.
Yeah. So, it's a bunch of little kids hanging around. I'm sure the dynamics are weird. And so
Yeah.
for them to suddenly be like, okay, you're going to kiss that person, you're going to kiss that person. And it's, they're actor kids. They've grown up in this weird, protected universe. Sure, plenty of them never had a chance to like actually go to a dance or actually kiss anybody. I've heard so many stories like that.
And it's like also what surprised me about that is that we know that all the kids are older than they look. So the fact that it was Lucas's first kiss when we know
Yeah, and
he's
he's
actually like
16.
16, I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
damn. All right. Well,
Yeah.
um but yeah, what?
Whereas with Mike, with Finn Wolfhard, he was like, "Yeah, no, I've done it before. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Whatever." And that kid.
You
Um,
got to see it, I'm telling you.
all right, I will.
Um Sorry about that abrupt ending, everybody. That's what happens when you do 2-hour-plus long episodes. But I hope that you enjoyed our coverage, and I hope that the ending didn't ruin it for you. And this was just a lot of fun to cover. I thought at first that I liked the second season better than the first one, but on review, I think the first season's the best. It was just, I enjoyed it so much at the time that it kind of superseded all of the flaws that came up until I really stopped to look at them a little bit more and realized, like, yeah, this wasn't well done and was an unnecessary departure, which season 1 is so tight and so compact and self-contained that the choices that they made in the second season, because I didn't feel like they were thought out very well, did detract from it more than anything that I can think of in the first season. So yeah, I just really enjoyed covering this. I'm really hoping that they're going to do season 3 like we are assuming they are. And I am interested to see what comes next. So if you guys enjoyed our coverage, please leave us a review on iTunes, which is super, super helpful to new people finding not only this show, but Unspoiled as a network overall. And also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter at unspoiledshow, Instagram at unspoiledpodcast, and you can find our website at unspoiledpodcast.com. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next year, hopefully, with season 3. Toodaloo, motherfuckers. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.